Welcome back to The Grind for another guide for Act 7.3, quest number 2. This time we're going to be taking a look at the Galvanize Cage Rattler path that starts out with Red Hulk, and you get the 6-star shards on this path. There also is stun vulnerability, and we're going to take a look at how to make this path work very easily, and you want to use your skill champion. So if you have a solid skill roster, this might actually be a good option for completion or something for you to go into and knock out early on to get some extra 6-star shards as well. Now, you want to attack into the block after this shock symbol disappears. If you attack into the block while that shock symbol is active, you will get a shock applied to you. So if you can very reliably shrug them off, then that's great. You want to actually attack into block when you see this unblockable symbol. During this time, the opponent will be unblockable, so you don't want to try to parry, but if you attack into their block, you're going to apply a passive stun debuff, and you're going to get increased damage because of stun vulnerability on this path. While this shock passive is active, you can parry freely and attack into him, but if you attack into a block like here, you're going to get a shock debuff applied to you. So you could totally cheese this path with Aegon and just ramp up Aegon the whole way through, remembering to attack into the block when he has the unblockable buff on him. And once you get Aegon ramped up, you can attack in at any time, because even if you get the shock applied to you, you'll very quickly purify it with all the crits, but you'll want to wait until you've ramped up your combo meter a bit higher. Ideally, you'll attack into the block with your special attacks to get the big damage like I did there, and for Aegon, you want to try to time the second or third hit into the block so that you can get a nice bleed. Now, all skilled champions will do great for this path, but we're going to see Nick Fury can get some really nice bleed damage when you're attacking into his block during the unblockable phase and getting that bonus on the stun vulnerability. So here we're going to attack into his block, stun him, and then we're going to get a nice light ending attack there for almost 4,000 damage per tick on that bleed. And then we're throwing a special 2 into the block, and that's going to get some nice damage as well. And then we're going back in. Now he's switched over to the shock symbol, so we're going to avoid attacking into the block, and we're going to try to parry whenever we get a chance, because you can still parry and attack. It's not a big deal in that regard, but just don't attack into the block. Most of the damage is going to come from attacking into the block during this cycle here, and you can see I did mess up. And I would like to say it's to showcase the damage, which we're going to see some nice numbers attacking into the block with our second life Fury here, but then I messed up again, and I lost Nick Fury. So now we get to showcase a little bit more with Black Widow Deadly Origin. More and more I'm finding she is such a fun champion to use and can handle a lot of different paths, and does a lot of damage. So she's a great champion with suicides or without, and basically you build up to a special 2 and throw it off. Something unique about her medium attacks is you decrease the opponent's defensive ability accuracy, so she does have some utility in that regard. And with miss attacks, you can get an evade charge. So if you miss, you won't get countered. So she does have some utility as well, but you saw how fast that fight melted. Now, I did in fact bring along my rank 3 6-star Unawakened Nick Fury for this path. So we're going to get to see some numbers from him as well. And look at those bleeds already doing over 5,000 damage per tick. And we don't even have access to our real Nick Fury because he's unawakened. But this fight goes so quick. We're attacking into the block again during that unblockable phase and getting a nice light ending bleed on there. Again, dealing over 5,000 per tick. There we throw off a special 2 into the block. Again, nice damage on that with that stun vulnerability. And the fights go pretty quick on this path with pretty much any champion. We did end up taking a shock there because of the timing. We missed the window just by a hair, but it's okay because the shocks, they deal a decent amount of damage. You don't want to take a bunch, but if you make a couple mistakes here and there and get 1 or 2 on you throughout the fight, it really is not a big deal. Now, the next fight we're going to see is Heimdall, again going in with our Unawakened Nick Fury, and he just really melts these opponents down so fast. Another nice thing about this path is the opponents are fairly straightforward as well. Heimdall can be annoying with the auto block, but as long as he's not in the shock phase, if he's in the unblockable phase, even if he auto blocks, you're just going to stun and you're going to get that passive stun on him and you're going to get increased damage. So it's actually ideal if he auto blocks you, but you want to be careful because if he is in that shock phase, the auto block will trigger a shock debuff on you, so you want to avoid that as much as possible. But again, 1 or 2 of those throughout the fight won't be a big deal. So during this phase, I sometimes just like to kill time, but other times I'll just parry and keep throwing on attacks. Now we're up to 2 bars of power. He's now switched into the unblockable phase. We're attacking into the block, getting a nice big bleed off of it. Now we're pausing. We're going to throw our special 2 into the block. Unfortunately, the first hit that hits the block does damage like a block, and so that was not an ideal special 2 because we didn't hit him with the first 2 hits, and the last hit actually ended up being into the block, so we lost a lot of damage on that, but that's okay. The next fight is against Hulk Ragnarok, and with Nick Fury, we're going in again, putting in some big work with this unawakened 6-star, and we have class advantage, so the damage is very nice, even more so in this fight, and now we're almost like halfway through the fight before we even shift into the unblockable phase. Now that we do, we're going in, and that light ending bleed is just dealing some nuts damage. It's crazy. We did mess up again and take a hit to the special 1 there. We're throwing our special 2 into the block, but for some reason, we did not break his block. If you know why that is, I don't know if maybe I'll have to check if Hulk Ragnarok has a skill like that when he's at a certain number of charges, but I don't think so because he's at a higher number of charges here too, and eventually we're going to attack into the block again with our special attack, and it's going to go through. So like right there, it broke the block. So I don't know. Let me know if you have an idea why that didn't work, or maybe it was just a bug. Now we get to go back in with Black Widow Deadly Origin to have a little bit more fun. And this fight goes by so quick. We haven't even taken advantage of the attacking into the block yet, but we're getting some nice shock damage. And once we do get into this next phase here, we're going to start to melt her pretty quickly. So we're attacking into the block, and we're stacking up a bunch of shocks with the stun vulnerability. And so the shocks are ticking quite nicely. And then by the time we get up to a special 2, the fight is basically over. So we throw it into the block. The first hit we lost a bunch of damage on, and that's too bad. I should have attacked in first, but that's okay. And now we're down at about 20%, and we're now on to the shock phase. A nice dex of the special 2 there, waiting for an opening. I had an opening there, but I didn't take advantage of it. I was a bit slow. So now we're shifted back into the unblockable phase, and we go for another combo into the block, get that stun vulnerability, apply those shocks, and one more combo, and we're done. So let me know what your thoughts are, what champions you use. I do think this is a pretty fun and straightforward path to take if you have a decent skill roster. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next video.